Good morning and welcome to Not Your Average Church Girl's 30-year anniversary. I am Christine Lockridge and I am the leading lady of this ministry. I am so excited for today. It's been a long time coming and I'm excited because there's so many women and so many supporters who have prayed for us for this day, and you have sent your text messages, your phone calls, your emails, and I just want to say thank you, and thank you again. Our ministry was founded July 22nd, 2017. And on today, we have the opportunity to give God glory and to celebrate not just myself, but all of us who are comprised of this ministry. Throughout this ministry, we have grown. Initially, membership started off with just in person, and now we have grown to online membership. And at this time, we have about 65 women who have joined this ministry officially. So if you're interested in an opportunity to be a part of a sisterhood that has transparency, accountability, and love, this is the ministry for you. Today, this morning, is a very special opportunity for me because someone who has supported me even before I had the vision that God gave me for Not Your Average Church Girl. She and I have been friends for years, extremely close. She has definitely been a confidant, and she's definitely been an accountability partner in so many ways. And so typically she's always helping me and right by my side. And today I have the opportunity to introduce her. So on today, we have a wonderful opportunity to learn how to make our vision clearer. And so today, Kari Simpkins, the owner of the Frame Parlor, is going to give us the opportunity and share with us her knowledge. Those of you who have a vision, who know you have a purpose and you want to do your very best to please God, and maybe you're a little worried of how to go about this process. Today is the day where you're going to get all of the help that you need, and you will be able to follow up with her, excuse me, and become a part of her elite program. She has 3 different programs depending on the track that you're at, and so you're able to connect with her. So today, I am excited to introduce my friends and also member of the Exodus chapter of Not Your Average Church Girl, Kari Simpkins.
Good morning, everyone. I am just so thankful and honored to have this opportunity to come before you all today. Thank you to Christine. And I'm just so excited and proud about all that you have accomplished thus far with the growth of Not Your Average Church Girl. And I'm just excited to see, all that's in store. So as Christine said, my name is Kari Simpkins. I'm the owner and founder of the Frame Parlor. And just really quickly, I'll just give a quick synopsis of what the Frame Parlor is. Our tagline is, the Frame Parlor is where vision becomes clear. So we help you identify purpose, align with your purpose. We help you gain clarity of your vision, not necessarily your literal vision, but more so that spiritual vision. So what is it that God has called you to do and to birth and release in this earth? And I help you gain clarity and help you identify the steps to be able to do that. So I'm just going to share my screen. And so what I'm going to be going over is what I call the Girl Clean Your Glasses online workshop. And so Girl Clean Your Glasses is just a line that I frequently say, and it's almost like the equivalent of saying, girl, fix your crown. So Girl Clean Your Glasses really means to just pause, take a minute and just reframe or re-identify how you're looking at things. And so this purpose workshop is going to walk through the 5 steps that I personally use to help me get clear on my purpose, which then help me to be able to launch out into the Frame Parlor with confidence. And so really quickly before we get into it, I just want to take a moment to just reframe your understanding of purpose. So oftentimes we hear people use the words purpose and destiny interchangeably, when really they mean 2 completely different things. So purpose is defined as the reason for which something is done or created. I cited Google for that. All right. So when you say the reason is referring to the why. So purpose isn't necessarily the destination or the destiny that you're going to arrive to, but it's more so the driving force that helps you get to where it is that you're trying to go. Purpose is going to be present in each area of your life. And I'm going to show you how I found that to be in my situation as well. So just as a brief overview, so like I said, we're going to be going over the 5 steps that I personally use to help me go from being stuck, frustrated, angry. I'm even going to show some screenshots of a text I even sent to my good friend Christine, to be able to, like I said, operate in purpose intentionally and confidently. So the 5 steps I'm going to cover are: first, we're going to look up, we're going to look around, we're going to look within, we're going to look back, and we're going to look forward. So as we go through these, it's going to become more clear on exactly what that means. But I also want to make sure that you all are aware of the free workbook that I have. So this is intended to be a full-on workshop. And so there are going to be questions that I want you to consider. They're actually called questions that need answers on the on the slides. So I have created a free workbook to go along with this workshop that you can access for free. Just go to theframeparlor.com/purpose, and then you'll be able to identify, or you'll be able to download, the free workbook so that you can follow along, or, be able to go back to the questions even after the workshop, and really dig deep into this content. So I'm going to have that link at the bottom of each page, just in case you forget. So just a little bit about me. You see all these different things on this on the screen now, and you're probably like, what does all this have to do with each other? Absolutely nothing. And so I thought, right? So just a little more background about me. So I attended university. I intended to become a seismologist. I wanted to work with earthquakes, volcanoes. I wanted to be out in the dirt, outside. And then at some point, I realized that wasn't actually what I wanted to do. I loved learning about it, but it wasn't so much where I really saw my career going, right? And so midway through university, I decided, you know what? I think I want to be an OBGYN. So I switched and ended up adding on pre-med to my courses. At the time, my major was still earth science and seismology, which made no sense, but I felt like I needed to kind of straddle the fence with both until I figured out where exactly I wanted to be. But then, of course, with the help of my family and advisors, I ended up changing my major from earth science to child and family studies, 2 completely separate fields, right? And then I ended up actually dropping the pre-med track. I didn't go on to become a doctor because I realized that I could do the things that I really wanted to do as a doctor within the child and family studies field, right? So also during that time, I, was a chaplain in my university choir, the gospel choir. So, and that was really what I defined to be my most exciting part of my university. It was such a challenge, but it was also such a learning experience for me. And I really enjoyed the time that I got to experience with my other choir members, right? So then after university, I started working at a girls program. And so I'm working with youth. I'm doing, summer programs, after school programs, and all this stuff. Again, this seems like it has nothing to do with anything that came before it. So again, this is just me feeling like I'm all over the place and trying to, figure out where I fit in. And also during this time, I started a network marketing company. And this network marketing company I was with for over 3 years. And during this time, I'm building team, I'm sharing products and traveling. I'm like, oh, I'm going to retire before 30 and all this stuff, which is definitely very possible. If you're in network marketing, definitely, I still support it 100%. But for me, after a while, I felt like that season at that company came to an end. And so later on, I ended up joining another network marketing company that was similar, but also a little different. So again, I'm like, okay, I feel like I should be doing something. I'm doing my girls program, but I feel like I should be doing something else. Like, I feel like I'm made for more. I feel like I'm meant to have even more of an impact in this world. And for right now, this seems to be the best way to do it. But I still felt like I was missing something. And then at one point I said, you know what, I love eyewear, I love frames, I love glasses. My mom loves glasses, and I grew up around her glasses all the time. So what if I started an eyewear boutique, right? And little did I know this was really the beginning of what became the Frame Parlor. But I felt like even with that, it felt like something was missing. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could sell these glasses, but that doesn't really feel like what I'm supposed to be doing. And then also during this time, I had a career change. So I'm not working with those girls. And I just really felt like I was swirling around. I had all these different things pulling on me, but I still felt like something was missing. And so it came to a point where what I call my breaking point. And I remember this night specifically, I was on my couch and I was actually talking with Christine. And I remember I sent her this message. And just really briefly, I'm just going to read it. It's not so much, she had just asked me, what's wrong, because I told her I was just going through. And I said, it's not so much that anything's going wrong. I've kind of expressed this to you before, where I feel like I get all of these ideas of things I can do, but when I do them, I don't see the results that I had thought I would, which I know is life, but it seems to be a pattern because I was just doing so much and just going in all these different directions. And I know that, part of that is because I just do stuff without really asking God. So now I'm trying to do that and wait to see what direction and next steps I get so I don't keep walking off cliffs, because that's how I feel. But I still have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing, and I just listed a bunch of things, including the frame parlor. I'm like, okay, I have this idea for eyewear boutique, but it doesn't really feel like it. What is the thing that I'm supposed to be doing? And I was starting to get frustrated because I felt so stuck, because I was really at a point where I didn't want to make a move unless God really said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. But at the time, that hadn't become clear yet. And so I remember that night, I don't even know what she said in response. I think I threw my phone, but I know I was just in tears that rest of the night. And I remember literally saying to God, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? Like, that was my prayer. Like, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? Because I was just so frustrated with not knowing what the plan was going forward. And so that led me to my first step, right? So the first step that I use, and also I just want to point out, even though I went through these in the same order that I'm going to share with them today, you might go through them in a different order. Your journey might be a little different in terms of the sequence of these steps. But I feel like each of these are really crucial when it comes to identifying purpose, or maybe you already have maybe some inkling of what purpose is and what it is that you're supposed to be doing, but maybe you have some imposter syndrome issues. And so I've actually worked with someone who, she already had her idea. She knew what she wanted to do. She knew what she was supposed to do, but she lacked the confidence to be able to walk in it. And so what we did is we walked through these steps almost in reverse order so that she can really understand how much that thing that she was trying to do, that business idea that she had, really aligned with her purpose, so that regardless of what people say, or any sort of negative comments or whatever bumps along the road, that regardless of what may be happening, that thing that she was doing truly aligns with her purpose. So, but going back to this, so we're at step one, look up, right? So the first thing I did was I looked up. I asked God, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing? What is it that you want me to do as I go into this next step of my life? And so, like I said, we're going to be coming across some of these pages or slides where we have questions that need answers, aka QTNA. And so I'm going to be asking you all questions that I want you to think about. But also, again, I encourage you to go to theframeparlor.com/purpose to download that free workbook so that you can really sit with these questions and really pray and meditate, and really dig deep into, what your purpose may be. But for now, I want you to start thinking about, what have you felt led to do recently that you may have been avoiding? Because oftentimes we'll have an urging to do something or a burden to do something, but we feel like, oh, that's just nothing, or, oh, that's just me being crazy, or, we tend to just disregard it. But what is that thing that you have felt led to do recently that you have been avoiding or may have been avoiding? And then also the challenge for you for this step is to ask God for direction and ask that purpose will be revealed to you as you continue on this journey. Because for me, it was truly a journey. It wasn't just all at once in one sitting, boom, here it is. But it took me to go on this journey that I'm sharing with you today to really have a clear understanding of what purpose looks like for me. So after I navigated through that season of really praying and asking God for direction and what it is I was supposed to be doing, I found that I was in a state of where, I was just re-examining my circle and just kind of taking a look at who I'm surrounding myself with. And not even just who I'm surrounding myself with on a day-to-day basis. I found that I was even coming across new people and new people coming into my life. And so the next step that I started doing is I started looking around. And so you see my picture with, all the sister girls sitting around the table. And so, one thing that I started doing, like I said, is I started looking at my circle, re-examining my circle, but also identifying who my vision pushers were and then who my vision smushers were. You know, who are the people that are pushing me forward? Who are the people that are pushing me and encouraging me to go forward into whatever it is that I hear God telling me to do in that season? And then who are the people that are, you know, kind of discouraging me or, you know, oh, it don't take all that, or, you know, why you want to do that? You really think you're supposed to be doing that? You know, those kind of people. I'm sure we all know who those people are in our lives. And so here are just a couple of examples of some of my vision pushers. So on one side, on the left side, we see these two little cards. And one of my friends actually, this is like a team building exercise where you're supposed to identify two characteristics of the person across from you. And so for me, she told me that inspires her in me is my wisdom. And what she likes about me is that I see arising opportunities better than anyone else. So she was able to recognize those qualities within me. And when I saw those, it really encouraged me and gave me the confidence to be able to continue on in my journey. In the middle, we have, you know, just some text messages from my good friend Christine, where she was telling me to walk in your calling, and that she was just super excited for me. I'm pretty sure I had just shared with her some ideas that I had for what the frame parlor would be. And then also on the right side, this was somebody I had never even met before. I had literally met her that night, and we sat in a room for over 3 hours where she just ripped into me, but in a good way. And it came to a point, I had just come through a really, really tough season in my personal life. And I felt like I was at a crossroads where it was either like I retreat back into that season or I continue moving forward. And one of the things that she challenged me with is, you know, asking me, well, really, God through her was asking me, you know, Kari, will I say yes in this season and know that in this moment that God has me? So again, and some of these people I've known for, you know, almost 10 years. And like I said, all the way up to somebody I just met that day. And literally it was like she came in like a thief in the night and, you know, passed on because I haven't even seen her since then. But that was such a crucial and integral moment on this journey for me. So those are my examples, but really I want you to really sit down and I want you to look at who are your vision pushers and who are your vision smushers. And sometimes those vision smushers are people, you know, that you can't necessarily cut off just because somebody's a vision smusher. I'm not saying, you know, just X amount of your life, you know, it may be family, it may be, you know, people that are tied to you in other ways. But I do encourage you to limit the access that they have to be able to filter in and add in their comments into what it is that you're trying to do. So here we have some more questions that need answers. Who are the people that you talk to the most? You know, just identify who those people are. They could be best friends, family members, coworkers, and so on. And also identify what parts of your character or personality do they pull out? Because I'm sure we all know when we get around different people, sometimes a different side of us comes out. Of course, we're the same, you know, person regardless, but, you know, sometimes you might be a little more goofy with this person, or you might be more likely to retreat back into bad habits that God's already delivered you out of when you start hanging around these people. Or you might, when you get around certain people, you might even retreat. Your voice might feel like you need to be silenced around certain people. So identify what characters or personality traits come out when you're around these different people. And then again, of course, you know, are they your vision pushers or are they your vision smushers? And I think when I did this workshop live in another event, somebody even added, you know, there might even be vision crushers. So those people who just completely just shut you down and, you know, are just really, really toxic. And those people, I would say you probably need to just cut them out of your life. And then the challenge that I have for you is to rekindle relationships with the vision pushers that you pushed away out of fear of walking in what they saw in you all along. So I'm going to read that again. The challenge for you is to rekindle relationships with your vision pushers that you pushed away out of fear of what they saw in you all along. Sometimes when we have people around us who see things in us before we see them in ourselves, we can push them away and retreat back out of fear. But I really encourage you, if you have those people in your life who have been saying, you know, oh, you know what, I see this in you. Oh, you're meant to do this. You're meant to do this great thing. that you might have pushed away because you were just afraid or you were doubtful or hesitant or whatever reason, I encourage you to rekindle those relationships with those people, because I'm pretty sure that as you, again, continue on in this journey of identifying purpose and looking forward, which we'll get to at the end, these people are going to be crucial in this phase of your life. And so once again, I have my reminder. We have the free workbook at theframeparlor.com/purpose. So if you want to really sit with these questions, I encourage you to download it, print it out, and fill it out. Okay. So as we go into the next phase, so now we're at the look within phase. So we've looked up, we've asked God, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? Well, that's what I said. I don't know what you said, but I said, what am I supposed to be doing? Then we've looked around, we've looked at our circle, we've identified who our vision pushers are, who our vision smushers are. And then I came to a point where, okay, I've looked around me, I've analyzed my circle, I've recognized who my people are, who are the people in my corner. But now it's time for me to really look within. And so some of the tools that helped me as I went through this process, people in my circle, they know that I love assessments. I love personality tests and all those things. Of course, I know they're not 100%, but I think they're really good indicators of, a window into who a person is. And so as I was going through this journey, particularly, the one that really helped me the most was giftstest.com. And what it does is it helps you identify which spiritual gifts you identify with the most. And it's not so much like it's going to tell you like, okay, you're a prophet, now go start your church, but more so these are gifts that you tend to operate in on your day-to-day life. But just some other ones are 16personalities.com. This one is more commonly known as the Myers-Briggs personality assessment. And it kind of helps help you identify, areas of weakness, strengths, how you tend to respond in certain situations. And then also just as another one that I personally didn't use, but I know is a common one, is the DISC assessment, DISC. And that can be accessed at 123test.com. So these are just tools that can help you. You don't have to go this route. But again, and as a part of my journey and my experience, these are the words. These were really helpful on my journey. So especially that gift test, which I'm going to dive into. So as I did the gift test, one thing that it does is it gives you your top 5 gifts that, come up through the assessment. And so one thing that I did was I took it a few times just to make sure that it was relatively consistent. But I kept getting exhortation, help, service, mercy, and then pastor and shepherd in some order, with exhortation always being the number 1. And so I said, okay, well, this is interesting. These are words that you hear and you have heard, but what does it really mean in a day-to-day sense? Because when I saw pastor shepherd, I was like, no. But that doesn't necessarily mean, like I said, that you're supposed to go start a church. But what are the characteristics that identify with that gift? So what I started to do was I started to look at the descriptions and really dig deep. I will refer to the scriptures that were also attached to the descriptions that they gave. And then I was started to pull out the keywords for each of them. So for exhortation, the keywords that I pulled out were, this is someone who strengthens, comforts, and urges to action. And I said, you know what, I do tend to tell people, I don't tell people what to do, but I say, I really think you should probably so on and so forth. And then also helps, the keywords I pulled out were, if this is someone who supports the accomplishment of tasks. They see the need before others do. And sometimes these are those smaller menial tasks that go along with the service gift of, seeing those smaller great tasks for the overall good. What are those things that, the high level visionaries tend to overlook that I can point out and identify and help for the overall mission of what it is that we're trying to do, which is really the foundation of what the Fran Parlor is. And so also, I got mercy. The keywords were you're someone who feels empathy and cares for the hurting. It's very easy for me to put myself in someone's shoes, and even sometimes to a fault. Well, somebody will be telling me, oh, this, and this happened. And I would say, well, they probably responded that way because of X, Y, Z. So I know my friends sometimes get annoyed with that, but that's just how I'm wired. And then also for Pastor Shepherd, the keywords were they care for the personal needs of others by nurturing and mending life issues. And I love to walk alongside people as they navigate through life's turmoil. So these were the gifts that I got. These aren't the only 5 that are on a part of the assessment. So yours might look completely different. I know a lot of people, when I did this before, a lot of them had like leadership and administration, and there was a bunch of others. But I encourage you, if you use this assessment, to really go through and not only read the scriptures that were assigned to each one, but also really pull out those keywords so that you can really have a solid understanding of what it is that each gift is talking about. And so one thing that I did, so once, I started looking at those gifts and I would identify, okay, well, yeah, I see that in myself. I see that in myself. Then I started asking myself and going through this other process where I was asking these questions. So here's another questions that need answers sheet. So again, what keywords can you pull out of your gift test results? If you use a different assessment or no assessment at all, of course, this doesn't apply to you. But also think about what topics get you stirred up, whether it be excited, you're super happy, or they make you really angry when you speak about them. What are those things that you really get passionate about? Even if you're not even talking about them, but you might be in certain situations and something will happen that will trigger, some sort of internal response where you feel inclined to take action in some way, even if you don't in that moment, but you recognize that something is shifted inside of you. And then also ask yourself, what would you do every day if you could? Don't overthink this. Sometimes when I ask this question, people think, well, if I do this every day, like, how am I going to pay my bills? We're not talking about bills and provision and all that. I'm just asking, what would you do every day if you could? And honestly, for me, when I was really thinking about this, one of the things that came to mind was listening. I'm really passionate about making people feel heard, making people feel like their voice matters and what they have to say and what they feel matters, right? So listening, that can be applied to so many different things, but just in and of itself, that's not something that you typically think like, oh, I'm going to spend my whole day listening. But that's something that is really, really, when it talks about those things that get me passionate, when I feel like people are being silenced or like their voice is being diminished or like it doesn't matter, that's something that stirs me up. And then also ask yourself, what do people always tell you that you're good at? People always tell me I'm a good listener. And then what do you know that you're good at? So, and these can even be practical things like cooking, things like that as well. Because I also want you to look at what skills or talents come naturally to you. So those things where, people might need to take a class and go through a whole bunch of stuff in order to be able to be half as talented and skilled as you, what are those things that just come to you just effortlessly that you don't even recognize as a skill? You might even just, brush it off as like nothing, like, oh, everybody can do that, when really that's not the truth. So I encourage you to think about these questions as you start looking within yourself, because now, after I started looking within myself, the next thing that I did was I took everything that I pulled out within that look within chapter of my journey, and I started to look back. And I said, well, how have these gifts, how have these things showed up in my past as I've gone along my journey? So we're going to just take another look at my story, right? So this is where we start cleaning our glasses, and I'm starting to see things a little differently. And, maybe it wasn't a waste of time. Maybe I wasn't just aimlessly wandering, but maybe it was all intentional for some reason. So I share with you all, like, I started university as an earth science major, but also during that same time, I joined a women's mentorship program on campus. And I was assigned with, basically the whole premise is the undergraduates get assigned with, well, I guess everybody's undergraduates, but like the freshmen get assigned to upperclassmen mentors. You're supposed to meet with them, have lunch, and so on. And it was interesting because it turned out that the mentor that I was assigned to, while she helped me navigate through, okay, this is where this building is, this is where this class is, this is how to take the bus from here to there. When it came to more life issues, it almost seemed as if the roles were reversed, where I really became more of that listening ear, more of that confidant for her. And even though I was younger than her, I found myself in a place where I was advising her and saying, well, maybe you should go about it like this, or maybe, when it comes to this situation, here's how you can handle it. Just as a suggestion. So I found myself still, even though in class I was, taking our science and all that stuff, but in my personal life, I still found myself where I was connected to, women and pouring into them in some way. And then even when I made the transition to pre-med, like I said, it was because I wanted to be an OBGYN. And part of that was because I wanted to work with women, especially teens who were, dealing with teen pregnancy or the sexual health issues, and be able to almost serve as like a mentor and an advisor for them, to help them navigate through that season. So again, there's a similar thing where I want to work with women and I want to be able to pour into them in some way. But I just felt like at the time, this was the way I could do it. And even with child and family studies was when I realized that maybe I don't necessarily have to be a doctor to do that. Maybe I can just, be like a therapist and, sit down and really listen to people and, pour into them in some way. So again, I'm starting to notice a common thread through each of these seasons that I didn't really recognize prior. And then even as a chaplain, in my gospel choir, something completely random. But again, there would be times where, rehearsal would be going on full-fledged upstairs, they singing, Ricky Dillard and so on. And I'm downstairs in the bathroom on the floor crying and praying with someone, helping them navigate through whatever situation or period that they're going in. Most likely they're a woman because you're in the bathroom. But again, a period where I'm pouring in, I'm praying with them, I'm on the floor with them, I'm listening to them. So here we are again, the thread is continuing. Moving forward with the girls program. Even though I would be working with girls in a large group, like I said, summer camps and after school programs, I realized that my favorite parts of that period of my life were when I was able to work with a young girl one-on-one and really hear her heart. More particularly, there was one girl who everyone had kind of written off as like, oh, she's the problem child, or, you'll never be able to get through to her. I remember the first day I asked her name and she like turned completely around. And I'm like, who is this girl? So that's when people started telling me like, oh, she's just like that. So don't even deal with her. But then I was able to kind of crack through her shell a little bit. And in a one-on-one conversation, she was able to share with me how, again, she's just constantly yelled at, not only at home, but also at school. She feels like what she has to say or what she thinks doesn't matter. So she just shuts down and doesn't say anything. And so as I started talking with her and really listening to her, I started to see her come out of her shell. I'm starting to get emotional. I'm not going to cry though. But I started to see her come out of her shell. So much so, she was saying like, oh, I'm just going to drop out of school. Mind you, she's in like 8th grade. She was saying, I'm going to drop out of school and just, disappear and all this stuff. But little did you know, or did I know, that she ended up, getting back on track with her grades, and she was able to go through her 8th grade graduation, moving up ceremony to go to high school. And I happened to be at the school that day, and I tapped on her shoulder because she didn't know I was there, and she just broke down crying. And that was just such a pivotal moment for me in terms of just understanding that my thing is to really just listen to people, especially girls. So here we are again. We've gone through this whole top row that seems like it has nothing to do with each other. And here I am connecting these dots with these common threads. So again, even with the network marketing companies that I was in, we will be, of course, the ideal is to sell and recruit and do this and that. But my favorite parts of those experiences were when I was able to sit and work with, the girls who had joined my team and, talk about their life and what they were going through, divorce and kids and all this stuff, things I never even have gone through. But just to be a listening ear for them meant so much to them at the time. And it also meant so much to me because I felt like I was really connected. Same thing with child. We used to do a work challenge and we used to hear talking about what I like, okay, like, I know but thing is, what is and part of it, because I was, there's not actually those networks not anymore. So we're so that's what helping me what the strategy is. So this wandering, but come to find out all the conversation like, right? So now I want to do more. It's time to skill apparently across the past. we feel like they have nothing to do with each other, even lives that were completely different and have nothing to do with each other. What is their talent or skill? And you don't need to recognize that they are people. And also, what situations do you always find yourself in? Sometimes you tend to find yourself in situations where you're for listening or maybe it might be different, but the external situation is different. What is it that you yourself following? A little better. Kind of and hopefully we could set those up. But just a reminder, we have to work for things that are missing or breaking up, and always get support for do that work. Okay, so my experiences have brought you the most joy or you the biggest lessons. Okay, so with those experiences, you constantly find time for and I want to reference it back to it, but you're using it outside and whatever it is you're doing time. They have people always commenting on that you brush off is significant. So my thing is listening, helping the on present, and those I'm like, okay, that's my thing. I didn't feel like there was any significance to that because it's something as if loud people voice that's what you need to do or what like, listening doesn't seem like it's that significant. But later, everybody is wanting to be heard. People will really listen to without even that gift and that ability. And also, people always ask me how I play. So, like people always ask me how I'm able to play. I'm really thinking looking back, right? So we thought, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing and using? What this purpose looks like for me? We looked around, we've identified who our vision are, who our mission are, who that we just need to just cross the vision. Then we look at we've identified and pull up those gifts and the skills, talents, those experiences that we walk around with, and then we put that and we start looking back. We start looking back at how the gifts have shown up to get to where I am today. What has been the complex and I had paid attention to. So the next step after that, my next, this was a story for me to know how to navigate through this next season. I'm going to pause for that. We're just going to pause here. But if you have any questions thus far, please feel free to put them in the chat. Okay, so we're having some technical difficulties with my computer breaking up, but hopefully you all can hear me now. Okay, great. I can hear. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're back at it. So I hope if you had any questions in the meantime that you drop those in the comments. But just to recap again, so we started off with looking up. We're asking God, what is my purpose? What is the direction that I'm supposed to be going in? Then we went into looking around, looking at our circle. Who are our vision pushers? Who are our vision smushers? Who are our vision crushers even? Who are the people that we can really lean on as we go throughout this phase or this journey of identifying purpose? Then after we looked around, then we looked within ourselves. So we identified what are our gifts, our skills, our talents, what experiences have we gone through that really help shape us to be who we are. How do we show up in this world? How do we offer value to the people around us, right? So once we did that, then we started looking back. So we looked at how those gifts and talents and skills and abilities and so on have shown up in our past, right? So I shared with you on my journey where I felt like I was kind of all over the place. I'm over here, then I'm over here, then I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But really all along, there was a common thread that went all the way between them. And I'm not sure how much might have been missed or skipped, but just really briefly, in each of those phases, I found that I was always in a position where I was listening to someone, I was pouring into someone, I was being a shoulder for someone to lean on, or even urging them and encouraging them to do something and take action, right? So I recognize that has been the common thread all along. So who's to say that that's not going to be the common thread as I go forward into my next season, whatever that may look like, right? So now I'm in the season where I'm looking forward. So what I did was I looked back at those gifts. So like I told you all, I took the spiritual gifts test or the assessment, and I pulled out my keywords. But what I did was I pulled out those results again, and I started looking at how people have been able to implement each of those gifts on a day-to-day basis and what that looks like, right? So someone who has the gift of exhortation, they're usually in some sort of coaching field or maybe even in a therapy role of some sort. Someone who operates with the gift of helps, you might be serve as an assistant or an armor bearer, which I have been in my past. You may serve in more like admin roles. You might be what we call the unexpected leader for an organization that I sit on the board for. That's a common term that you'll hear where we're talking about, the leader who shows up just a little differently than how you might expect, right? And then even, hospitality, somebody who might serve in a role where they're, doing things for others, right? And then for service, very similar to help gifts, but also I just added in someone who's a listener, because listening is truly a service. And then for mercy, this person might be a social worker or might be in the healthcare field, which were really similar to the journey that I took during my undergrad. My major that I graduated with, I don't know what's happening with my words. The major I graduated with was very close to the social worker field. There were actually a lot of overlapping classes. And even healthcare, with me wanting to be an OBGYN, that's where that kind of showed up in that role. And then for a pastor shepherd, this person might be, they might act as a chaplain like I did. This person might be a therapist or a counselor of some sort. So it really helps me to kind of look and see how each of these gifts show up on a day-to-day basis, how we might see someone, and I'm talking about outside of the church. Of course, within the church, it's easy to identify areas where these things might be. Of course, a pastor can be a pastor, help service, the hospitality ministry, the armor bearer ministry, and so on. But even outside of the church, when you go into the marketplace, how do these gifts show up? How do you get paid? How do you pay your bills? So this was really helpful to me to really help me identify, okay, what can I do with these gifts? How can I intentionally go forward in a way that best utilizes and maximizes on the gifts and things that I've identified within me? So what I want you to do is, of course, we have our questions that need answers page. So I want you to think about what can you start or continue doing to maximize on everything that you've discovered thus far. So again, when we're talking about everything from, the vision, the look around phase, the look within phase, the look back phase, all those questions and things that you've brainstormed and thought about, what can you start or continue doing to maximize on all of that, right? So again, I started looking at what those career fields could look like, what businesses have been created for people who have those gifts, how have people been able to maximize and even monetize on these gifts. So, and then I also want you to do a brain dump. What career, I actually got ahead of myself, what career, business, or ministry paths require the gifts, talents, and experiences that you possess. So again, that's what I did with my gifts. So of course, if you don't take that assessment, you can still kind of sit down and really think about what career, business, or ministry paths require the gifts, talents, and experiences that you possess. And then lastly, I want you to ask yourself, what can you create with your gifts, talents, and experiences that does not exist? So sometimes when people see this, they automatically think, oh, business, right? But not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur, and that's okay. Even if you launch a product or a service, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a full-on business. It can just be something that you just want to share with the world and offer with the world. Or maybe you might go the route where you want to start a nonprofit. That's okay too. That's also a proper use of your gifts, talents, and experiences. And it could be something that does not exist. It could be a ministry. It could be so many different things, but I really want you to think about what can you create with your gifts, talents, and experiences that does not exist. And really, as you're doing this, I want you to think about which of these things feel the most natural and true to who you are. Because just because someone with your gift is able to do X, Y, Z, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you're supposed to be doing. So I want you to make sure you think about that. And again, just a reminder, the free workbook is available. So if you really want to sit with these questions and really dig deep, or you might be even just taking screenshots, which is totally cool too, but really sit with these questions and these challenges, and I encourage you to really dig deep into what they are. And so just as a quick recap, let's see. So we looked up, again, we asked God for direction, and I really just love to just recap because I want to make sure that you understand the full sequence of events that got us to where we are. We asked God for direction, and that purpose will be revealed to us as we continue on this journey. We looked around and examined our circle, and we identified who our vision pushers and our vision smushers were. We looked within ourselves, we listed out all the gifts, skills, talents, and life experiences that we possess without assigning more value to one over the other. Sometimes we have a tendency to prejudge and say like, oh, well, that's not really nothing, or that's not really nothing. But no, I want you to list them all out without putting more value on one over the other. Then we look back, we reflected on how these gifts, talents have been evident throughout our life. And now we're looking forward and exploring the possibilities of how we can further walk in what we have uncovered in this process. And just as a reminder, purpose is the why, not the what. So purpose has been present in each and every situation that you've already been in. You just might not have been able to recognize it because you needed to clean your glasses and take a new look and a fresh look at what it is that you've been doing. So now what? So what is the next phase for looking forward? And Christine kind of already mentioned this a little earlier, but I work with people who have visions of things that they want to create in this earth. So those large scale, big visions that, I want to do this, or I want to do this, or I want to create this, but I don't even know where to start. I feel overwhelmed as soon as I start thinking about it. I don't even know how to practically even release this. I see what it looks like in my brain, but when it comes to actually mapping it out and brainstorming it out, I'm just completely at a loss. And so one of the clients that I've worked with is Michelle Elliott. She is the CEO and founder of the Honeybee. And one of the things she said was, Kari has helped me to take my ideas and see them clearly. Before talking with her, all of my ideas and plans were clustered and cloudy. And after our time together, I walked away with a goal and a plan. She said, creation looks very different for many people, and for some, much can be achieved through in-depth conversation, and that is what I got from Kari. If you have a hard time putting your ideas and dreams on paper and need the early steps to saying them out loud, then Kari is your girl. So again, this is just a clear example of where my listening comes in. And so with everything that I just talked about, my gifts and everything that I uncovered throughout this purpose journey, I have completely infiltrated all of that into what the Frame Parlor is so that I can show up as my best self. And so this is how I show up for my clients. And so here we also have just another feedback response of, I've been in a transitional phase for quite some time now, wanting to be a full-time entrepreneur and nonprofit leader, but feeling constrained to a 9-to-5 due to financial burdens and perhaps a lack of confidence in my ability to make it. Kari encouraged me to keep taking steps every day. As long as I am doing something every day to reach that ultimate goal, I know that I will get there soon. Done over perfect. That is my thing. I say that all the time. If you ever talk with me, you're going to hear that 1,000 times. But she says, Kari taught me not to withhold your gifts just because you're afraid your work isn't perfect yet. And you actually see the cover of a book that she had been sitting on for I don't even know how long, that she was afraid to release because she was so caught up on trying to get it perfect. Of course, you want to do things in excellence, but she was caught up in, okay, well, maybe this isn't right, or maybe I really don't know what I'm talking about. But shortly after we had our conversation, she released her book on Amazon, and it's been selling, since then. So if you want to work with me, one of the things that I offer is the elite membership. And so this is what Christine mentioned earlier. And so elite members are able to work and talk with me one-on-one. You get one-on-one support as you work to align with purpose, gain clarity, and implement your God-given ideas. So whether you're at the phase where I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm stuck, I'm frustrated, what is purpose? I don't even know what that means in my life, all the way to, I have an idea, but I don't know where to start. I feel overwhelmed. I don't even know what I need to do in order to even begin operating in this thing or seeing it come to fruition. Or if you're even at, I've launched this thing, I've already started this thing, but I want to scale it, or I want to, add these new features, and I'm not exactly sure how to do it, especially on the tech side. What platforms should I use, or what would be best to be able to offer, this product or this service? So if any of that sounds like you, I encourage you to book a free consult. Just go into theframeparlor.com, where I will work with you and talk with you just to see, where you're at in this journey and where you fall, and then also to see how I could possibly help you along your journey. So I'm just going to pause here and see if there's any questions. I thank you all for keeping up with us, or for listening to me. But if you want to keep up with us, I encourage you again to just go to theframeparlor.com. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, pretty much anything that you look up, just type in The Frame Parlor and we'll pop up. Thank you. Yeah.
Kari, that was amazing. That was amazing. Thank you so, so much for coming today and sharing with us how to make our vision more clearer. I'm checking through the comments to see if there are any questions. If you have questions, make sure that you put them in the comments. Also, we have also put in the comments her website. We've also put all the information to her free workbook. And when I tell you that I'm an elite member, I really am. Friends pay invoices. Y'all seen that meme? Friends pay invoices. And so it is, even if you don't do it on the right date, but you still pay them. You get it together. And so like I said to you all earlier before she started, it is an amazing opportunity to be a visionary and then have someone to sit with. And like she said, she's able to pinpoint those things that you don't think about. Well, how are you going to do this? Are you sure you want to do that? And she's really honest when she says she doesn't tell you what to do. You may want her to tell you what to do, but she will not. She will say, okay, Christine, okay, visionary, maybe we should do this. These are our options. And she will walk you through every step. And she's very, very patient, very, very, very patient. And so I would suggest that you definitely at least book your first free consultation so that you can talk with her and express to her where you are. Kari, this was phenomenal. I loved how you talked about those vision crushers, making sure that you look from the inside out, looking at who's around you, who's in your circle, reevaluating where you are. This was all very, very pertinent information. At this time, I don't see any questions, but make sure that you do follow the Frame Parlor on Instagram. Make sure you do visit the website, theframeparlor.com. Make sure you do make sure that you request Kari as your friend so that you can keep up with all that she has to offer. So this is going to come to the conclusion of today. For this segment, we will be coming again together at 11:30 with Miss Chantel Ross, and she has an amazing ministry called Queen Rise Up. If you're not familiar with her, you will become familiar with her on today. And so we're going to come back here at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Miss Ross is going to share with us what God has given her. Again, if you would like to sow into our ministry, you can visit our website and give through PayPal at notyouraveragechurchgirl.org. You can also be sure that you give on Cash App, NYACG, and RB. All of that information is in the comments. Again, our 3rd anniversary official date is July 22nd, 2020. And today we are celebrating with seminars and service. Also, tonight we will have service at 6 p.m. via Facebook Live, so you can just have service and celebrate in the comfort of your own home. I'm excited because we have Candace Thornton, who is an amazing psalmist, who is going to be there and lead us into worship. And yours truly, the leading lady of this ministry, will be sharing the words. I ask that you pray with me. I ask that you pray with all of us as we are going through this year. We shall overcome is definitely our theme for on today. And so for all of the visionaries a part of this ministry, for all of the visionaries that support this ministry, for all of the visionaries who are learning about Not Your Average Church Girl today, we want you to know that you can overcome the hurdles of being a visionary and figuring things out. And this is an opportunity for you to get that support through the Frame Parlor. Make sure that you get your vision clearer, make sure you clean your glasses, and make sure that you connect with the owner and the founder of the Frame Parlor, Kari Simpkins. Again, thank you so much for joining on today. We will see you shortly at 11:30.